Assalamu alaikum. Welcome once again in biology lecture. Today we will discuss about the reproduction in fungi. How fungi reproduce, how fungi increases their generations, by which method they increase their generations. Today we will discuss about this topic. Okay, today is our topic is reproduction in fungi. Mostly we see here there are three types of reproduction which is found in the fungi: vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction, and sexual reproduction. Now here, first of all, we will discuss about the vegetative reproduction. What is a vegetative reproduction? How it occurs in a fungi, and during this method what happens in fungi and how fungi starts to reproduce. First of all, I am going to briefly discuss the vegetative reproduction. There are further three types of a vegetative reproduction. First, fragmentation. And second is fission. Okay, and first is fragmentation, second is a fission, and third is also known as a budding. Okay, now there are three types of a vegetative reproduction: fragmentation, fission, budding. Now I am going to discuss these three types. First of all, what is fragmentation? Then second, what is a fission? And third, what is a budding? Mostly we see here, first of all, we will discuss about the fragmentation. Okay. Okay, in fragmentation, what happens? This is a fungi whose body is made up of a hyphae. These are hyphae. Okay. Now in fragmentation, fungi is going to divide it into small fragments, small pieces, such as like this. This is a fragmentation, in which one fungi is going to separate into small fragments. Now each fragment will develop into completely new fungi, new organism. This type of reproduction is known as the fragmentation. Okay, this is a type of a vegetative reproduction. What happens in fragmentation? In fragmentation, the body of fungi is going to cut and separate into small parts. That part is known as the fragment. These are the fragments, and these fragments will start to continue develop and becomes a mature fungi. This process is known as the fragmentation. The second one is known as the fission. Now what is a fission? Mostly we see here, fission is of two types. Fission is of two types: binary fission and multiple fission. When this fungi, this is a hyphae, we know that the body of fungi is made up of a small thin thread-like structure that is known as the hyphae. Now it is divided into two complete equal parts. In fission, in binary fission, the fungi will completely divided into two equal parts like this. Now this type of a fission is known as the binary fission. This type of, because bi means two. Bi means two. Now here fungi is divided into two parts. Now these two parts will continually develop and get a nutrition and develops into a completely new fungi, new organism. Therefore, this is known as the binary fission. Now this is a multiple fission. What happens in a multiple fission? Let's see here. In multiple fission, a fungi is going to, this is a hyphae. Now in multiple fission, fungi divides into many small parts, not only in two parts, but fungi is going to develop, going to divide into many small parts. But remember here that all parts will be equal. Look at this. When we are seeing at binary fission that fungi is going to divide into two equal parts, but in multiple fission fungi is going to separate, going to produce many small parts in multiple fission, but that part will be equal in size. Only the differences between binary fission and multiple fission is binary fission only produce only two daughter cells, and multiple fission produce so many small daughter cells, many fragments. But this is known as the fragmentation and multiple fission is a small difference. What is that difference? That during the fragmentation, a fungi is going to reproduce during fragmentation, but these parts are not equal. One is a large, other is a small, other and very small. But means in fragmentation, fungi also produce many pieces, many parts during the reproduction, but these parts are not equal. In multiple fission, these all parts will be equal in size. There is a main difference between fragmentation and multiple fission. And now we will discuss about the budding. What is budding? Here we see that when this is the yeast. Okay, this is the yeast. A small tiny outgrowth comes from the body of yeast fungi. Look at here. See it here. Small tiny outgrowth comes out from the yeast body. Then this tiny outgrowth will develop furthermore. When this tiny outgrowth becomes very large and becomes mature, then this will separate it. This will separate it from each other. Now two fungi are produced. This type of reproduction is known as budding. What happens during budding? A small tiny outgrowth comes out from the body of fungi, and that tiny outgrowth will start to develop in a size. Then when it completely develops in increase their size, then it is detached from the parent cell and now becomes the two fungi. Therefore, this type of reproduction is known as the budding. Now I will tell you that this is a vegetative reproduction. In vegetative reproduction, only body parts will take place. Body part will take part in a reproduction. Now in asexual reproduction is also of two types. Means sporangiophore and conidia. Sporangiophore and conidia. What happens during a sporangiophore? In sporangiophore, fungi will produce spores. Fungi will produce spores. But in the inside of sporangia. Now look at here. This is known as this type. This part is known as the sporangiophore. Sporangiophore. And this bulb-like swelling part is known as the sporangia, either sporangium. We can call it sporangium or sporangia. These are difference of singular and plural. Sporangia. Now here spores are present. Here spores are present inside of the sporangia. But during a conidia, look at this. What happens in a conidia? In conidia, the spores are present at the tip of hyphae, but not inside of the sporangia. In conidia, spores are produced. Non-motile spores are produced. Okay, in conidia, non-motile spores are produced, but these spores are present at the tip of hyphae, not inside the sporangia. Therefore, the main difference of sporangiophore and conidia is sporangiophore in this type of a reproduction. This is a type of asexual reproduction. Spores are produced. This produce two types of spores. One is aplanospore, and second one is zoospore. Aplanospore means the spore which are non-motile, the spores which are non-motile, and zoospores, the spores which are motile. But conidia will produce only non-motile spores. These are the spores which is produced by conidia, that is known as the conidiophore. The main difference between sporangiophore and conidia is these two types of asexual reproduction. But in sporangiophore, spores are present inside the sporangia, and this produce two types of spores: aplanospore, non-motile, and zoospores, motile spores. And conidia are non-motile spores, produce only non-motile spores. These are two main types of reproduction which I have discussed in vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction, and fungi. Okay, I hope that you understood. If there is any question arises in your mind, you may ask in the comments, and inshallah I will try to make my level as possible as best. Okay, now these are two types of reproduction we have discussed: vegetative reproduction and asexual reproduction. Okay, and finally I will say you, please, if you are new on my channel, then subscribe my channel and press the bell icon notification, then you never miss the new videos, new lecture. Okay, thank you so much.